The Republican Party seems to be having a love fest in Cleveland over its nominee who became official, the Republican nominee for president, as he accepted their votes yesterday. Now he has to bring the party together. And I just want to congratulate Reince Priebus, who's the chairman of the RNC. He has met with Trump sometime 3 or 4 times a day to match strategy. Trump didn't have an organization. Prince has put the RNC organization behind him because he said, look, we've got the House, we've got the Senate, and if we can have the White House, we will control the government, and that's what they're going for. And the harmony seems to be emerging from this very beautiful convention they've put together. Wendy?
And Trump's key voting blocs include evangelical Christians along with social conservatives. Our CBN News team brings us 2 reports from the Republican convention in Cleveland, beginning with our Abigail Robertson.
Donald J. Trump has been selected as the Republican Party nominee for President of the United States.
The delegate count from Donald Trump's home state of New York fittingly put the candidate over the top. His own son delivered the announcement from the floor.
And it is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight with 89 delegates. Congratulations, Dad. We love you.
The candidate's controversial ex-campaign manager announced New Hampshire's votes, along with a supportive message.
And 11 votes for my friend and the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump!
Trump beamed into the event via satellite.
What we did getting the party's nomination, I'll never forget it. It's something I will never, ever forget.
The theme now is party unity, with Donald Trump's own children emphasizing his conservative values, while party establishment offered their support for the unconventional GOP nominee.
Have we had our arguments this year? Sure we have. You and I call those signs of life. What do you say that we unify this party at this crucial moment when unity is everything? Fellow Republicans, what we have begun here, let's see this thing through.
Donald Trump Jr. delivered a powerful, structured speech aiming to bridge the gaps between the Trump campaign and establishment Republicans.
His true gift as a leader is that he sees the potential in people that they don't even see in themselves. He's recognized the talent and the drive that all Americans have. He's promoted people based on their character, their street smarts, and their work ethic.
Chris Christie's task in the night's lineup, putting the focus on Hillary Clinton.
We cannot make the chief law enforcement officer of the United States someone who has risked America's secrets. We didn't disqualify Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States. The facts of her life and career disqualify her.
Trump's path to the nomination has been a challenging one, and now it gets even tougher with the general election campaign. My colleague John Jessup explains why the new GOP standard bearer will need all the help he can get.
The Republican road to Cleveland started with a traffic jam of experienced politicians against a brash outsider that no one gave much of a chance.
Now that Donald Trump has officially won the support of his party, Republicans are now looking forward to November and a potential victory over Hillary Clinton. But Donald Trump still has some work to do to coalesce the entire Republican Party.
While he still needs to win over some skeptics, a number of conservative Christians quickly offered their support.
I think I was the first one to endorse him, and I thought he was the best man for the job.
Others took a little longer to jump on board.
There is a gap between Donald Trump and most evangelicals.
Tony Perkins has championed traditional values for the Family Research Council for more than a decade. He first supported Ted Cruz's White House bid, warning evangelicals against voting by fear, a tactic he suggested Trump used to resonate with angry voters concerned about terrorism, immigration, and an advancing liberal agenda pushed by President Obama. But that was then.
His track record on issues actually is kind of counter of the ground he's staked out right now. And that's okay. People can change their minds.
Like Trump, Perkins also experienced a change of heart. He even worked to assure other skeptics by organizing last month's closed-door New York meeting between Trump and influential evangelicals including those in the pro-life movement.
He's said some things that I disagree with, that the pro-life movement disagrees with, but on this issue, perhaps more than any other, he's shown a willingness to correct himself. He's taken constructive criticism, and he's come out and he's clarified.
One major turning point for her and others came with the death of conservative Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. The other was Trump's choice for running mate.
Unlike Donald Trump, Mike Pence does have a voting record, and it's a very strong one.
Trump's pledge to protect religious freedom and appoint pro-life judges has also helped to sway some evangelicals who still have their doubts. He understands this is a group he needs if he wants to sit in the White House.
They don't have to be out necessarily standing on every corner waving Trump signs, but they have to be comfortable enough to vote for him and encourage their friends to turn out and vote.
And it appears he's making inroads. The Faith and Freedom Coalition's Ralph Reed tells CBN News that Donald Trump has already closed the gap.
Today, he's winning 78% of the evangelical vote, and Hillary is getting 17%. That's the highest recorded for any Republican nominee in the last 25 years.
With a little more than 3 months to Election Day, he's hoping to win over as many more as he can. John Jessup, CBN News, Cleveland.
Isn't that amazing? This guy has come from nowhere, and he's professing his faith now. He was with me, a week or so ago, and he understands that the evangelicals are crucial to winning this election. If the evangelicals in our country register and turn out to vote, he feels that he will win, and he thinks that's the most important block. What we've seen over the years, for the last 30, 40 years, the labor unions have been the backbone of the Democratic Party, a reliable block that counts for so many votes. Well, the evangelicals have become that same block for the Republicans. They haven't gotten much from it, but it looks like Trump is willing to say, okay, you back me on this, I'm going to back you in your issues. And I believe him. He looks after his friends. So it's going to be an interesting thing. But
Pat, I don't understand. Some evangelicals say, "Well, I'm not going to vote," but then that's a vote for Hillary.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
If the stay home is a vote for Hillary, and or Obama, that's what it is. But they ought to get out, but they ought to register. If they can't register, they're not can't vote. So make sure in this interim period that you get registered. Wherever you are vitally important right now to the future of our country. So don't stay home and don't think, well, I'm going to be sitting this one out. You can't do it. It's you've got the Supreme Court at stake. You've got all the legislation having to do with the sexual activity of the United States people, same-sex marriage and all that stuff, plus abortion. That's on the table. I mean, very important. If you're interested in guns and the Second Amendment, that's going to be on the table without question. And you can go right down the list of key issues that are going to be decided by the Supreme Court. And we're looking at least 2 to maybe 3 vacancies on the court for the next president. Well, our CBN News political correspondent David Brody is with us now from Cleveland. David, it looks like a nice show. It's pretty and it's going well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty. There's a lot of flashing lights. I like that. It looks aesthetically beautiful. And last night, for sure, was a lot more beautiful than the first night. Donald Trump Jr. performing very well. I went on Twitter because I'm addicted to social media, Pat. I went on Twitter and I called him the JFK Jr. of the Republican Party. Okay, maybe I got a little out of hand, but look, the speech was really, really good. A lot of conservative ideas out there, and so that was the takeaway. And visually, Pat, talking about aesthetic visuals, how about the family during the roll call vote putting their father over the top saying, "We love you, Dad," and that visual of all of them there. Boy, they're a good-looking family. That's a made-for-TV moment. Much better night on Tuesday than on Monday.
You know, David, Trump came into this thing with no organization to speak of, no field force, nothing. And people said, well, he's going to get wiped out. But I've read that Reince Priebus realized the issue, and he's been talking to Trump 3 or 4 times a day, and he's put the entire apparatus of the Republican Party behind him, including the field force, the fundraisers and everything. Is that what you've heard?
That's exactly what's going on. Reince Priebus and the RNC, in essence, are taking the lead on all of this, Pat, and so that's extremely important in the scheme of things. Look, I mean, Mitt Romney, John McCain, they had the big-time apparatuses to bring in with the RNC. This time, RNC taking the lead. But just a few hours ago, you know, Donald Trump's campaign expanded into a lot of these key battleground states. They just hired key political directors in many of these states, Ohio, Florida. As a matter of fact, the Ohio political campaign manager, if you will, for Donald Trump in that state will be the guy that ran Rob Portman's political campaign for the Senate in 2010. So they're hiring some big-time guys, but they are dwarfed in comparison as it relates to campaign staff compared to Hillary Clinton. You know, Hillary Clinton has over 700 staffers. Donald Trump about 100 or so. So, I mean, you do the math. You know, Donald Trump has had a reputation for not only being a successful billionaire, but also being, let's be honest here, Pat, a bit frugal. And we've seen that play out here in the campaign.
Okay, well, let's talk about the vice presidential pick. How important is he to the evangelicals? He is a strong evangelical, strong pro-life. What do you think his influence is going to be?
I think it's going to be a lot more than people think. A lot of folks are saying, well, look, especially after they saw that 60 Minutes interview and said, oh, look at what Donald Trump was doing. He was kind of bigfooting Mike Pence a little bit, and Pence wasn't able to talk much. Look, the reality is Mike Pence is an experienced conservative, a born-again evangelical, and my understanding, talking to a few sources, is that Donald Trump did indeed call quite a few evangelical leaders before making the Mike Pence pick and said, what do you think? We know he talked to Jerry Falwell Jr. for sure. There are some others that he called before that. He wants to do right by evangelicals. I don't think there's any question about that. That is the word inside the campaign, and that's part of the reason that he picked Mike Pence. Obviously, he wanted unity as well. Mike Pence has a big speech tonight. It'll be an introduction really to the American people. Look, we policy wonks and we political folks, we know about Mike Pence. He's been around for a while, but how Mike Pence plays in Peoria and around the country, this will be a big moment for him on the national stage. The expectation is he'll do very, very well because he's used to the big stage, at least from a national perspective.
David, the media just loves to talk about the fact that Republicans are divided and they're shooting at each other and so forth. What do you find when you're talking to these people in the grassroots?
Well, you know, there's some folks that are obviously gung-ho Trump, and then there's other folks. Can I do a visual, Pat? I mean, there's some of this, you know, they're going to walk to the voting booth like that. They'll hold their nose. But what you just talked about on the set just a few moments ago about the U.S. Supreme Court and the fact that, look, a vote not for Donald Trump or a vote against Donald Trump is a problem. So it is basically a vote for Hillary. That's the argument. Mitch McConnell was on this stage last night basically making that argument. He said, look, I'll take 80% of what Donald Trump is selling and the other 20% we'll have a discussion about. And Paul Ryan is basically saying the same thing. So that's the sense as it relates to the division within the Republican Party. They say, look, we understand you got problems with Donald Trump, but at the end of the day, I mean, isn't Hillary a whole lot worse? And we're not just talking about 4 or 8 years. We're talking about a generation or two here as it relates to Supreme Court nominations.
Well, so far, he's presented a magnificent family, beautiful, well-spoken children who think the world of him. They adore him as their father. They've got Mike Pence, who is a very handsome guy, by the way. He's a radio talk show guy. He's a governor of a state. He's a powerful congressman. He's put him in, and then it looks like he's going to make a speech tomorrow night, and we'll find out what program he's got. But he's talking lower taxes. He's talking all the things. Now, a lot of people disagree with him on trade, but the rest of it seems to go down very well with the conservatives, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of folks that are telling me, not just privately, but publicly as well now, that, look, we were skeptical about Donald Trump, but the minute he picked Mike Pence, we were on board because they know Mike Pence would make a great president of the United States. And, of course, as we know, Mike Pence has floated or at least talked about potentially running for president in the near future. And here he is on the national stage. So it's a big deal. By the way, speaking of Donald Trump's family, we're going to hear from Eric Trump tonight, one of his other sons. boy, going to be hard to outdo Donald Trump Jr. from last night. But once again, all these folks are accomplished, and they're good looking. They're articulate. I mean, my goodness, it's the best thing he has going. And you know, we'll see how it plays out in the general election. But it's a big deal, and it's a huge asset for him.
Well, David, he's a showman. He knows what to do. He's a TV star, and that's the way you handle TV, and he's doing it right. Well, David, keep it up. We look forward to talking to you again. Thanks so much. That's David Brody, our man in Cleveland right now, and our man on the campaign trail. It's just he's giving us some marvelous reports. Wendy, what do you think?
They really are doing a great job. You know, speaking of TV stars being presidents, Ronald Reagan was so beloved, and he, of course, was an actor. And then,
that's right.
So a lot of people were kind of comparing the two and saying that
Reagan would stand up and tell the guy, "Okay, I'm the soap. You go ahead, you know, package me." I mean, he would take direction. He'd do what they told him, because he knew they wanted to make him look good. And I think Trump's the same way. We're gonna see some things. But I asked him one question that, you know, are you going to abide by the 11th commandment? He was a little difficult about that. But they've got to learn to start speaking well of each other. Even the ones that are against him just say, well, he's a great man. I'm just hope he changes his mind and get on.
Now that he's officially nominated, and he did look very presidential last night when he came across in that video. You know, that was, like, I thought, the best he's looked. I think we're going to start seeing more of that. Yeah.
Oh, well, absolutely.
More well-behaved.
Well,
a more well-behaved Trump.
They'll package him. If they don't, they're crazy. They've got to have speech writers. They've got to have it controlled. He's got to be reading off a prompter. And if he does, he's got it made. I really believe in I said earlier, and you know, people can change their mind, and they can all, you know, we could blow the country up. I don't know, but although Hillary has had a lead, I think Trump is now catching her in the polls. They're neck and neck. In some instances, he's edged ahead. And when this convention is over, I would think he would probably go up 3 or 4 points, which is normally what happens. So it's interesting to see, but it's a horse race. But Donald knows how to ride winners.
He does, as do you.
Okay.
All right.